Okay, week 4 was moving through the Everglades week. Though most people think of the Everglades as just a portion of South Florida, it actually includes Lake Okeechobee and the Kissimmee River in its ecosystem. We started off the week by going to the Arthur R. Marshall National Wildlife Refuge, where we were able to take a look at how varying nutrient levels have shaped the habitats within the refuge. That same week, we also went and took a tour of the northern end of Lake Okeechobee, and we met with some representatives from Florida Fish and Wildlife for that. Although we often only hear bad news about Lake Okeechobee, we were able to see that certain management practices, such as removal of ooze, have greatly improved conditions in the lake. Thanks for doing that for me. This isn't working very well. Also that week, we went to Archibald Biological Station just south of Lake Placid, Florida, which is northwest of Lake Okeechobee. And there we got to take a look at scrub habitat. In this picture, we are out taking a look at the rare scrub jay, though what I think is even rarer about this picture is that we have college students awake at 6 a.m.
You haven't gone to bed.
Right. That's right. We also took a tour of Buck Island Ranch, which is north of Lake Okeechobee, and we got to see how some of their best management practices are improving water that runs off of their ranch and into the rest of the Everglades ecosystem. And overall, I got an expanded view of the Everglades, especially the northern headwaters that we often forget. And now I'll hand it off to Ben.
Week 5 we spent at the South Florida Water Management District, which is the entity that controls most of the water in South Florida. And we met with several mentors from the district, Gina Rippin and a few others, who told us about the district and exactly what it does and all the processes that they go through in restoration and water control. One of the main things we did this week was tour one of the STAs. And an STA is a stormwater treatment area. It's one of the main workhorses right now that's helping to clean up the water that is coming south that is polluted with excess phosphorus. And by doing this, it helps give us an understanding of how the STAs work and how they're used in restoration. And right here, this is the pump station that brings all of the water into the STA. Those are actually 3 huge diesel engines that do all the pumping, and there's another one way over here, so there's 4 total in this one pumping station. Unfortunately that day, we were supposed to take a walking tour of the STA, but it was raining really bad and nobody wanted to get wet. So we had to pack 9 people in the back of Nancy's car, which normally only holds 7. So this is actually Shannon in the back by the door, in between the back seat and the door. We weren't on the main highway, it was just dirt roads, so everybody was safe, I promise.
John was driving.
And John was driving. From there we went to the district itself, and this is the control room where they control all of the water structures in South Florida that are under their jurisdiction. And from here they can open a gate, close a gate, start a pump, or close a pump all over South Florida. Also, we started our minor project, which you'll hear about a little later, and it was the main focus was on the cypress tree plantings that the foundation does with school children. And the main goal was to create a more data-based approach to monitoring the plantings to see how well they're doing. And I'll pass it on to Andrew.
Corps of Engineers.
Yeah. Stay busy.
Okay, week 6 was U.S. Army Corps of Engineers week. Though it was a short week due to 4th of July, it was still packed with activities. We began the week by going to the Army Corps' office in West Palm Beach, where we discussed the Army Corps' overall mission and purpose. Specifically at the Army Corps' office, we discussed issues about the Lake Belt region in Miami, where extensive mining occurs. Later that day, we also spoke to Scott Benyon from CEMEX, which is formerly Rinker, and he gave us his own viewpoints on the Lake Belt mining issues as a member of the...
Good save.
That's all right.
Nice.
That was a great save. Awesome.
That's why they keep me on staff.
Think basketball. Show must go
Okay, also during that week, we spoke to Scott Benyon from Cemex, who gave us his own opinions on the rock mining industry as a member of the rock mining and cement industry himself. And it's really great that the Marshall Foundation gives us varying viewpoints on it. This is a picture of something else we did that week. What we did was we went to Norm Gibson's home, and he's actually the first volunteer for the foundation, and he's a talented artist who's well known in the area. We got to see how his natural landscaping methods have actually provided a wonderful alternative to the traditional suburban lawn. That's the picture of his duck pond and some of the vegetation that he has at his home. And now I will pass it on to Shannon.
Okay, so now we're here to talk about Agriculture Week, which was right after our 4th of July holiday, so we all came back to the office ready to go. Before we got into the actual agriculture part, we had a couple more mentors come into the office. Actually, Deb Nichols came to speak to us about the book Cradle to Cradle, and Sherry Anchor came to talk about her book, The Life World, and which was really interesting to talk about. Later that week, we got to actually visit Okeelanta, where Florida Crystals has their sugar fields, and it's in the Everglades agricultural area just south of Lake Okeechobee, where there's a lot of agriculture because the soils are so rich there. And we were able to take a guided tour with Mr. Barney Eland from Florida Crystals. He was kind enough to brave the mosquitoes that were outside the vehicle to go and retrieve this rice plant. This is not sugar, this is actually rice that they grow out there as well. I actually didn't know that the rice was grown in the same area, but it is. And he also brought us a piece of sugar cane to examine within the safety of the vehicle. Beyond that window, you can't see it, but there's the worst swarm of mosquitoes I've ever seen in my life. This is really interesting for me because I've never seen rice up close like that, and we actually pulled a piece off, and Caitlin and I tried it, so it was kind of cool. Right after Agricultural Week,